Hi guys, and welcome to my 5th week of pregnancy. So basically, after last week of being quite worried about what might happen, whoa did it deliver this week. So on the fifth week from when it started, so it was the day after I did my last pregnancy update. Basically, the one thing happened to me that you wouldn't want to happen to you, and that is bleeding. So I wouldn't say it was like red blood, it was more like blood, it was more brown. But basically I hadn't realised really, when we'd had a really good day out, we'd gone to buy a new sofa for our new house. We get home and I go to the toilet and I find that my underwear is really quite full of brown stuff. It was quite covered, to be honest, and I wiped and I was getting the same stuff. And I was getting quite a lot of it. Some of it was lighter coloured and some of it was darker light. I wouldn't say it was clots, but there was like little dark stringy bits, and they were quite clumpy and quite big. And so at that point we decided that that was it was over, that we were miscarrying, and we were devastated really. We were really quite devastated, and it was a really difficult evening. We tried to continue like everything was kind of normal, but at the same time like we couldn't, and I was just crying, and it was horrible. It was really horrible. We actually went shopping to Bluewater, which is like a big shopping centre about an hour away from us. And we had to go because I had to get my son's 5th birthday presents, which was only like a couple of days later, and it was like last opportunity. Had to go, and I felt horrible. So I had some cramping and it continued, the bleeding continued. Well, it wasn't really blood, but the kind of brown stuff continued. And yeah, decided miscarrying. Woke up the next morning, expecting to miscarry that night. Woke up the next morning and it kind of gone. Like all the bleeding had gone completely. So went to work that day, continued as normal, and I was getting quite a lot of cramps really, but nothing more. So I just decided it was taking its time, and I was quite irritated with my body for just not getting on with it really, to be honest with you. And that continued through till I think I started bleeding again Sunday night. Again, just a small amount, not blood, but just kind of like spotting brown stuff again. But nowhere near as heavy as the Friday. And that continued round, and that stopped again I think on the Monday, and it was just again quite crampy, some quite sharp pains as well. And then came Tuesday and Wednesday. So Tuesday I'd stopped bleeding, I believe at that point, yes, and like spotting, nothing more had happened. So I called up by this point, because it would be in bank holiday weekend and bank holiday Monday, so on Tuesday I called up the early pregnancy unit in our local hospital and explained the situation, and wow, they kind of really freaked me out, to be honest. They kind of told me on the phone that they thought it sounded like it was ectopic, and they pretty much said that if I had any more symptoms I was to go, because, oh yeah, that was the other thing, I'd also had diarrhoea over the weekend, which for some reason that freaked them out really, and they decided that that was it. I needed to go to the hospital, like to A&E, if anything more happened. But I kind of thought, to be honest with you, the diarrhoea was probably down to the Nando's sauce that I had on the Friday night, because I was feeling so miserable. I just downed like myself in some Nando's sauce and had so much of it. And so yeah, I kind of felt that was what that was about, and I wondered whether some of the cramping could also be associated with that, because to be honest, yeah, it's not a comfortable thing, is it, diarrhoea, to be honest? It's horrible. And I was at work, it wasn't fun. Anyway, so they booked me in for an emergency scan the next day at 12 o'clock, so I had less than 12 hours to wait by this point. 12 hours, 24 hours to wait for my scan. And I was terrified because they terrified me. So that is when really, like, pregnancy like sickness kicked in, and I felt it was nerves, but I was terrified. And the next morning, absolutely terrified, and I felt so ill, I felt so sick. I felt horrible. So I went along to this appointment, and actually it went a lot nicer than I thought it would do, because I've been to one where I'd already had a miscarriage, and they just treated me really cold and really quite horrible. It was a horrible experience. So when I went to this one, I was kind of expecting something quite similar, but they weren't. They were lovely, like really lovely, and it was a different hospital to where I went to before. And I don't know if that made a difference, but I was really impressed with the service that they provided to me. I say service, like the care they provided me was so much better than the other hospital that I've been to before with previous pregnancies. Anyway, that have either worked out or haven't. So then basically I had the scan, and it was so quick. It was straight in, and she like laid me straight down, got straight undressed, and it was like straight away. So there was no hanging around, which was good, because it kind of just got me straight on to what I was there for, basically. And she put the the thing, because I had to have a, I can't remember what it's called, but basically a transvaginal scan. So I put that inside of me, and I was kind of, I remember like staring at the ceiling and just thinking, like, you just felt like that moment, like time is standing still, and I was just staring at it and like looking at the crosses on the tiles on the ceiling and just staring at them, and it was literally like that just kind of went on forever. She first of all said she could see something, that was definitely a baby there, and she didn't really say much more, and I was like, so is it in the right place? Because this is the bit that like, I'd be concerned by, we were made to be concerned by. And she was like, yes, it is, it's in the right place. And so we both and I kind of, she didn't really kind of make much kind of response, but I was like, okay, because that was what I was really worried about. And she sort of smiled and she said, yes, no, we agree. So there wasn't much emotion from her, like, so I wasn't really able to tell if everything was all right or what really. I kind of just sort of like, didn't really know what to feel at that point. So I wasn't feeling like relieved necessarily that she was seeing like a sac. Anyway, so she went, and it was in the right place. So she went in closer, and then she was looking at some more, and then she was like, I can see the egg yolk, egg yolk, I think that's called, no, yolk sac, yolk sac, and then she was like, oh, and I can see, like a fetal, is it a fetal pole? Basically she could see the heart. She could see the heart beating, and she was like, I think I can see it, and I think she was like, I think this is the earliest I would have been able to seen it, and it was like, okay. So anyway, so she turned it around to me and she showed it to me, and she asked if I wanted a picture, and she was like, look, can you see the heart beating there? And I was just like, I see nothing. All I could see was the circle of the, in fact I'll show you. I don't know, this is what you probably want to see. So she was like, you see this bit, like there's a bit up here like beating, and I was like, no, I just see the yolk sac, that's all I see, I can see nothing else. So she then checked everything, and everything kind of seemed like okay, like there didn't seem to be any massive, like she couldn't understand why I was bleeding, cramping, she didn't really understand any of it really. She said everything looked as it should, cervix looked as it should, the opening looked as it should, like nothing looked unusual or anything to necessarily be concerned about, but she still wasn't filling me with confidence. So she then measured the actual, I'm not really sure which bit it is. She measured this bit, and she said this bit was measuring, or was it the yolk sac? Anyway, I can't remember what she measured. She measured one bit of it, and she said, okay, that's measuring at like nearly 7 weeks. And I was like, no, that's definitely not right. I'm 5 weeks, nearly 6 weeks. So I was like, no. So she measured this baby, which apparently is up here somewhere. I don't see it. And yeah, and apparently the baby was measuring only 5 weeks. So I have to be honest with you, I've kind of been left not really knowing what to feel from that scan. And she was feeling pretty confident about it. Like, I say that, she was just like, she can't see anything wrong, and she seemed to think everything was alright, but obviously she understood that if I was having problems, like why it was worrying me, because this wasn't normal for me, because I've never had spotting or bleeding or anything before in a pregnancy. So she kind of was just like, I can't see anything wrong, and there is a baby there. Not that I can see at all. So these are kind of like some measurements. So the CRL, which is like the baby, I think, which is crown to rump length, I think, and that is 1.8 millimeters, which, that's tiny, like tiny. So yeah, she said that measured 5 weeks, and I was like, okay, yeah, I am 5 weeks, but nearly 6, and I kind of would have expected to have measured to that point, because I know that my dates are exactly correct, so who knows. Gestational sac volume was 1.3 mil, gestational sac mean 14 millimeters, again this all means nothing. Embryo present and fetal heart activity present, that's all it was put. Yolk sac present, and gestational sac present, gestational sac size 18 millimeters by 10 millimeters by 14 millimeters, which I thought was quite big. Maybe that's about that. So yeah, single viable intrauterine pregnancy. I'm not reading that correct. And approximately 5 weeks. So obviously it's difficult, and she did say like it's really hard to make measurements at this stage and things like this and blah blah blah. It's left me really concerned. Something that the hospital did do is they offered me to start basically on this trial, effectively kind of a participant in some research, and I don't know how much I'm actually allowed to share, because basically it's a trial, and yeah, it's research, so I can't really, like, I don't think I'm probably allowed to tell you everything, but it's called the Prism. And what it is here in the UK, we don't use progesterone when people are having problems with bleeding, and apparently it's in other countries, say like in America, I believe the lady said, and in Eastern Europe, I think she said. Anyway, in parts of the world, they do prescribe progesterone in early pregnancy if you're having problems with bleeding or miscarrying. But according to I'm not really explaining this correctly, but basically here in the UK, because it hasn't been proven by us that progesterone actually prevents miscarriages, we can't prescribe it, and it's not used. So here we are, I am part of the trial to see if it does, whether it can prevent a miscarriage, and they're basically going to follow me the whole way through my pregnancy and up until after I've given birth, presuming that everything goes okay. But the point is they follow the pregnancy. So I've got some pessaries. What are the pessaries? Basically I insert them, I don't think they are actually pessaries, but whatever. I insert these little tablets inside of me twice a day, 2 a day, and they should, well I say should, they are either, and this is the bit I'm going to get to, they are either 200 milligrams of progesterone or they are a placebo. So for research to work and take place, obviously you've either got placebo or you've got the medication, and I don't know if I've got it, and they don't know if I've got it. Well, they do, but apparently the people actually giving it to me in the hospital don't know, only the university that are conducting the research know. So no clue, actually no clue if these are or not. So these can either possibly help stop the bleeding, or they could possibly do nothing. Haven't taken them yet, so I'm going to start. I feel a bit reluctant because I'm not really sure. Like, I feel like a part of me feels like, is it a good idea to be mucking around with pregnancy? Well, on the other flip side, like in America, they do use this, they do use progesterone, and people do have success with it. I don't know if yet it's been proven in other countries that it does, or whether they are just prescribing it anywhere. I kind of want to do a bit more research before I actually properly start this. And so that's basically what I have to say about it, really. If you have any like information on it, then please do share, or I'm just interested to hear what you feel on it, because it is a trial basically. Other than that, I think that's kind of it. So that's been my 5th week, and not great, but also on the flip side, it's not terrible, it's not, like, it's not awful. Things like it went as well as it could have done from the bad things that were happening. So considering I had the bleeding, and then I had the scan, and I've been able to have an early scan because of it. I can't really say that's a good thing, but it's, the scan went well, I believe. I'm not really sure, because as I say, I'm still left feeling like I have no idea how this pregnancy is going to go and how it's going to take me. So yeah, that is basically it, and I have really nothing more to say on the matter now, really. Or to see how things go, and hopefully I will see you next week. So I'll do a quick belly shot. There's really not much to see. Again, I'm feeling a little bit more bloated. Other than that, nothing really more. Yeah, I'll quickly show that for you. So I don't know, that's looking a bit better, isn't it? A bit more bloated. It's hard because there seems to be a lot of fat, but yeah, there's not really much to show you. Sorry, it's not really the best go at a belly shot, really, to be honest. I apologise, but there's really not much to see at this stage. So yeah, that is all, and I shall see you really hopefully for next week, and we'll just see how things go, and fingers crossed for me, please, because we are both terrified, and Justin, I think, like, almost more so, like, I seem more accepting, like, I've kind of accepted, and I had before the scan, I kind of accepted that it was kind of over, and so having the scan, I still don't really know how to feel about it now, because I'm a bit like, okay, now what? But yeah, like, I kind of feel like I've mourned the end of this pregnancy, which is so weird to then still be continuing, and I'm sure that's kind of normal, but fingers crossed for me that everything goes okay, and hopefully I'll see you again next week, and it'll be good news and not bad. So yeah, that's all. Alright guys, bye!